All right, hi everybody, John Meadows here, and welcome to Rapid Fire Questions Q&A, where I pull your questions off of YouTube and answer them for you. So we're going to do 10 of them today. Number one comes from mstar011, and he specifically asked, are there some things that I can do to prevent lower body injuries? Looks like he's having some issues with his hamstrings specifically. So I'll just give you some initial thoughts on that. You know, I see this a lot actually when I work with athletes. Obviously athletes, particularly in football and track, pull their hamstrings a lot. So one very standard way to treat that is to work on the eccentric movement, like a leg curl. So what we'll do with people is we'll have them do a really slow eccentric on a leg curl, then they explode on the way up, or they get on a GHR and they do the really, really slow negatives on a GHR, then someone helps them get back up. There seems to be something with that eccentric work on hamstrings that really, really helps prevent hamstring pulls. Now, people have commented on my videos a lot, you know, why are you so explosive on your leg curls? And I will tell you, I've never had a pulled hamstring my entire life. Not when I played football, not when I ran track, never had a pulled hamstring, never from weightlifting. I'm not saying that's the reason why. I'm just saying that I don't think being explosive on hamstrings is a bad thing, as long as you have that controlled eccentric and you're not throwing the weight up, you're actually flexing it up with the muscle. So adding in that eccentric work can definitely help on your leg curls. Give that a shot. Obviously, make sure you're flexible. Make sure your quads are flexible too. Make sure your calves are flexible too. Work on your flexibility. You're only going to get so flexible. You don't want to get hypermobile in your joints, then become susceptible to injury. So work on the strengthening part more than the flexibility part. Work on the eccentric part of leg curls on the GHRs. All right, number two, Fur Whale. Fur Whale wants me to talk about tendon lengths and origins and insertions. I'm not sure what the question is, but I do have some thoughts on that. So if your question is, should you adapt your training based on origins and insertions? I would say you should adapt your training based more on limb length. Let's take, for example, a squat. Let's say you have a really long femur, okay? And then you look at a guy like me, I got a short femur. So the way we squat is mechanically going to be different. All right, this is why I have a problem with people that say, oh, you got to squat ATG all the time. Well, it depends on how you're built, right? If I tell a guy with a really long femur, for example, you saw Lane Johnson squatting a couple days ago in the leg training video with a safety squat bar. He was getting pretty deep for how tall he is, how long his femurs are. But if I had him go below that, you would have just seen his back rounding. You know, whereas me, I could get a safety squat bar and I can kind of drop into it. So I wouldn't say so much origins and insertions. I would say look at your length of your limbs, the length of your spine. Those things are going to have some impact on how you set up to do an exercise correctly. That's how I would look at it. I hope that kind of answers your question. I gave it my best shot. All right, now we have a question from Bodybuilding World Wheeler. All right, and he asked about imbalances and uneven, you know, my right pec's bigger than my left pec and so forth. This is probably one of the questions I get the most. I get it just about on every single video. I'll see that question. Number one, I think way too many people are worried about having something a little bit bigger on one side than the other. Okay, you're right-handed, you're left-handed, those things are going to play into that. Okay, so if your right arm is a quarter of an inch bigger than your left arm, like mine, or your right leg is a quarter of an inch bigger than your left leg, like mine, if you're slightly stronger on one side, just a little bit stronger, those things are all normal, so stop obsessing over it. Now, if you have a major difference, if you're doing a barbell bench press and it looks like that, you know, one side shoots up, my biggest piece of advice I can tell you is probably pretty obvious to a lot of people listening to this, is to do more unilateral work. Don't let the strong side make up for the weak side. So instead of doing barbell presses, do dumbbell presses. If you're doing a dumbbell press and one side doesn't come up, the right side can't make up for it. It has to get stronger. And then you may have to add a little bit more volume, but I would even caution you there because If you could use too much volume, the opposite can happen. You can do too much and make it even worse. So the answer isn't just automatically do more on one side. I would say the first thing is do the unilateral work so that the strong side can't make up for the weak side. Maybe evaluate your volume, maybe give the one side a little bit extra. And then, if it's caused by nerve impingement in your spine or things like that, you can do all the lifting in your world. It's not going to fix it. You need to go see an orthopedist or a physiotherapist, somebody who's really smart at that stuff. They may be able to fix it. They may not. That's a tough one. So we see that with bodybuilders as they get older. You see this a lot with people's lats. And even I can even see with mine now as I'm starting to get older. You can see one side a little bit bigger than the other. That's not because I'm not training one side. It's because your spine starts to get a little bit of impingement on nerves and you're not getting as much firing signals to the muscle. So you get less activation. Less muscle fibers are activated. That means less muscle growth. So just some things to think about. All right, next question from moving to Korea. So if you really are moving to Korea, make sure you get a lot of kimchi. Awesome, I love kimchi. So your question is, you're a grad student and you need more affordable carb sources. Piece of cake, man. Bags of rice and bags of potatoes. It doesn't get any easier than that. It's what I did when I was in college. Go get the bags of rice, boil the bag. You're going to have a ton of rice. It's going to last you for days and days. Get you a bag of potatoes. That's even cheaper. It doesn't get any cheaper than that. Rice and potatoes. There's your answer. Next question from David Jarrell. So you want to know if there's an easy way to get your body fat checked with not going to a doctor. Well, first of all, most doctors probably won't even know how to check your body fat, but just go to a gym. Find a trainer there and pay them to do a 7 or 9 site skin fold test where they'll pull out the calipers. Make sure they're not doing one of the 3 where they only test 3 areas, because then you'll get if they test one of your fat areas, it'll make you fatter than you need, what you really are. Or if they just test your lean areas, it'll make you seem leaner than what you really are. So have them test to do the 7 site or 9 site check. Now, your other question was, is there a body fat percentage that tells you how many calories to eat? No, there's not. What I generally would say is, first of all, you got to look at your goals. Okay, if you want to look decent, 12%, 14% body fat, you should be able to see the outline of your abs. Okay, if you can't see the outline of your abs and your weight is stuck, then you probably need to lower your calories some. You need to get in a little bit more of a caloric deficit to help get you there. Now, if you're trying to gain weight and you want to get bigger, I would say for your body fat, there is a point where getting it higher and higher and higher is going to do you no good. It's going to create inflammation in your body and it's going to hurt your insulin sensitivity. You probably don't need to get that deep into it. Just eat more. Just increase your calories, 300 calories a day. If you're trying to lose weight, decrease them 300 calories a day. But there is no body fat percentage that tells you how much to eat. It just depends on what you want to look like. If you want to get extremely ripped, then you're going to have to, make this a lot more intense. If you just want to get in a little better shape, then a little caloric deficit will do it. So I hope that helps. All right, next question is from Uday Salan. I know I didn't say that right. My apologies, but I am answering your question. So you want to know, or you want me to just talk about some financial stuff, because I have a background working at a bank. So I did work in banking for 12 years, 10 years at JP Morgan Chase. And I do love to talk about financial stuff. So let me just give you a couple thoughts on how to be successful. The number one thought that always comes into my head is live below your means. So let's say you make $3,000 a month. Don't spend $3,000 a month. Spend below your means. Do a budget, figure out, okay, here are my expenses and what does this total up to? And here's my revenue. Here's how much money I have coming in. Have it set so that I know this sounds simple, but people don't do this and they just get it further and further in debt. Then they put it on credit cards and then the interest eats them up and they take out line of equity. I mean, it's a dead end. So make sure, look at your revenue, look at your expenses, live below your means. So whatever your revenue is, learn to live below that. If you make $10,000 a month, live on $7,000. If you make $3,000 a month, live on $2,000. Always live below your means so that you can be saving. Because what happens is a lot of times unexpected things come up. Your car breaks down or something else happens or somebody needs to borrow some money from you or anything can happen. And you need to be set so that if something happens, you're okay. All right. So the old rule of thumb used to be try to have 6 months worth of revenue in your savings account. So let's say you lived on $2,500. So multiply that by 6, and that's how much you would want to have in your savings account. And then beyond that, invest. Okay. Now, some people are a little more aggressive and say, well, in my line of work, I should be back to work in 3 months. So they only keep a 3-month emergency reserve and they invest the rest. Some people are like me, tend to be real, worst case scenario kind of guy. So I would want to have more like a year in reserve. It just depends on your tolerance for risk and, how much stress you're willing to take. But you need to live below your means, okay? What do you make? What do you spend? Stay below it. Pay off your debt, highest interest first. So if you have something at 9% interest, work on paying that off first before you pay off something at 4% interest. Try to pay down all your debt. One of the best feelings you can have is when you have no debt. When your house is paid off, when your car is paid off, when your student loans is paid off, be very disciplined on paying all that stuff off. And when that happens, you'll have a sense of freedom it's hard to put into words. So there you go. All right, next question from Feed Me. And Feed Me is asking, would a replacement dose of test be enough to ramp up protein synthesis? I assume you saw my video on training natural versus enhanced and me talking about the androgen receptor and how there's a connection there with the androgen and it locks into the cell nucleus and ramps up protein synthesis. So the answer to that is probably it depends on how much you're talking. Are you talking about a 90 milligram a week dose that'll get you into a normal range, or are you talking about a 200 milligram dose that'll get you out of range? So one of the things that I see with people is they respond differently to different doses. Like for me, 200 milligrams a week definitely ramps up my protein synthesis. I feel great and my numbers are great, but when I go below that, not so much. Whereas I know other people that do 150 milligrams a week and it just keeps them kind of stable. Some people I know only do 90 milligrams a week, which isn't much at all, but they seem to do okay. So it just depends on how much you're reacting to it. If your total test number is going to 1,200, 1,300, 1,400, 2,000, then you're definitely ramping up protein synthesis. But if you're just kind of hanging around that 400, 500, 600 mark, probably not so much. So I think it's going to depend on your dose exactly. TRT means different things to different people. Some people think that 200 is way too much. Some people think it needs to be 300. It depends on the state of your system, right? So hope that helps. All right, next question is from Neuraltech. And man, this is a good one. I applaud you. This is a great question. And you asked, how does blocking cortisol impact your ability to handle inflammation? So I assume you saw the video on, again, training natural versus enhanced, and how the enhanced folks have the advantage of kind of blocking cortisol. So, and we know that cortisol, its healthy function is to help reduce inflammation. That's one of the healthy things it does. That's a great question. I think really to be able to tell, you'd probably have to look at some blood work. When you asked that, the first thing that jumped into my mind was I wonder how my HSCRP would look, high sensitivity C-reactive protein. That's a measure of inflammation in your body. Now, it can be elevated due to, something short-term, some kind of infection or something like that. But generally speaking, it's a pretty good way to look at inflammation in your body. And so I started thinking about all my blood work, and when that HSCRP was going up and when it was going down, normally it's down below 1, which is where you want it. But I have had some times where it was up. And I was thinking about that. And when mine was up, it was generally related to nutrition. like when I was eating way too much trash. That seemed to have a bigger impact on my inflammation than anything else. But I can see your question, and it's a very good question. I don't know that I have the answer. I would say it would be a very cool experiment to see what your HSCRP is during and when you're on and when you're off. So I wish I had a great answer for that, but great question. It's a great experiment you could do. If you do that, let me know. I'd love to see your results, because it's something I guess I really haven't thought about. Then the other question of that would be like, what about when you come off? So, because in that other video I mentioned, now you've got cortisol running wild, and that's why you see these guys shrink so quick. With inflammation, then if that's the case, then inflammation should be more controlled because you have more cortisol. I don't know if that's the case at all. I wouldn't think so, because if anything, I feel super inflamed and my joints hurt. So I don't know if logic is something I can apply to this one. This was one that I'd probably need to see some good hard scientific data on before I made any kind of educated guess. So I don't know, man, but that is a great question. All right, next question from Bob Jim. By the way, you made me think of Bob's Gym. So if anybody out there knows Bob Sturba from Bob's Gym in Omaha, tell him I said hi. So this was a good question. So you're doing a lot of boxing training, you're doing a lot of cardio, and even though you're eating in a caloric surplus, you're having a hard time gaining muscle or even maintaining it. And your question is that because of high cortisol levels? It absolutely can be. A lot of aerobic work can create high cortisol levels. A lot of cardio, the boxing, the cardio, they can all do that. So I think that's a very good guess on your part. You're in a caloric surplus. If you're in a deficit, then this would be even worse. The fact that you're in a surplus is probably helping you a great deal. If you drop your calories, then you're going to really be in trouble. So I think at this point, you just got to try to figure out what your goals are, because as cool as it would be to be able to do an unlimited amount of cardio and boxing and also get huge, it's just not going to work that way. So you've got to decide, is it more important to me to gain more muscle, or is it more important to me to be in better shape and be a better boxer? Whatever is the right answer for you is the right answer. So if the answer is you want to be a better boxer, then you're probably not going to be able to maintain as much muscle if you're doing all that cardio training. So again, it just depends on what you want to do. You could do a little bit less weightlifting. Maybe the volume is too high. That's something else to think about. High volumes, high cardio, high repetitions, all those things create central nervous system fatigue, which can make gaining muscle very difficult, because you can't even call into all your muscle fibers. You can't even call them all into play. So great question, and I think there's probably a good chance that high cortisol is one of the problems. And our 10th and final question comes from Omer Butt. So Omer asks, do I count incomplete proteins into my total daily calories? So in other words, like the protein from oatmeal. Yes, it's still calories. It may not be a perfect source of protein, may not have the right amino acid sequence that we want, but it's still calories. You can't ignore it. I'm kind of baffled that people there are coaches out there that simply don't count protein, don't count fats, don't count carbs into their caloric calculations. They're calories. You have to count them. The only exceptions I would make would be insoluble fiber. Insoluble fiber does not give you any calories per gram if you look it up. And soluble fiber actually only gives you 2 calories per gram. So fiber, green veggies, I could very easily see you not counting those because it's a really incidental amount of calories. But yes, Mr. Butt, yes, I would count the protein in oatmeal as an example. And I would always do that. So anyways, there's 10 questions. I hope this was fun. I hope you learned a couple things, and I appreciate all the great questions as always. So keep firing away. I really enjoyed doing these rapid fire. I didn't even look at these I didn't really think about the answers until we started the video. So it's kind of fun for me to think about them as we go. So anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next video.